Hello and welcome to today's video. Today is another installment in the fall color series video. Today's color is obviously green. I love all the fall colors that are going to be featured in these videos, but I'm kind of biased. This one might be one of my top 2 favorites, so I'm really excited to show you. I have one lip item, I have a ton of eyeshadow to show you, and then I have one face palette item that I wanted to mention, so why don't we go ahead and get into it. And as we get started, I literally forgot to tease these 2 items. So I have 2 nail polishes that I wanted to mention. One here, the more affordable one, is from H&M and it's called Green as Gold. I really love this nail polish. Obviously, you probably can't see it, but I only got this about a year ago and I've already put like a dent in it, which I'm pretty excited for. But yeah, this guy has a kind of a blue base to it, but it shifts very green or gold depending on like how you look at it. Such a beautiful shade. Not to mention that these things are generally about $5, so they're very affordable, and I mean, they're not the most longest lasting, but they also don't chip immediately on me, so I definitely wanted to mention this guy. And then the other one is newer to me. This is my Nails Inc. Fearless Female. This actually comes from the Girl King duo, and yeah, I had to mention this. I've worn it once already, and I was super impressed with the formula. This is a beautiful deep hunter green color, and I think this is perfect if you're wanting like something really deep and dark on your nails, but it's definitely still noticeably green. It's so beautiful, and I am thrilled to have added this to my nail polish collection. Okay, with the nails out of the way, why don't we go ahead and get into more makeup. Everything from here on out is all makeup, but I'll start out with a couple little mentions here. This eyeliner from e.l.f. is like one of their glitter eyeliner kind of things. It's in the shade Seafoam, and if you have this in collection, I don't know if they still sell this. I really hope they do because it's really pretty and it's really fun to add to a look. I'll give you a little swatch. Can you see how it kind of shifts that greenish shade? Really fun. You can add it over, I use it as a liner, but you can also add it over like eyeshadow to add just a little bit of glitter or shine to a look, and it's really stunning. So I had to mention that. And then also I have this eyeliner from NYX. Now I have to be honest, me and NYX eyeliners haven't always gotten along. I've ended up decluttering one purple one that I just felt like it took so much building up that it irritated my eye, and I didn't love the color on me. But this one is the Slide on Glide On eye pencil in the shade Tropical Green, and I think this is a really beautiful fall shade. This is it right here. Really stunning, honestly. So yeah, I definitely wanted to mention this. This is probably my favorite eye pencil that I own. I don't own or use a ton of eye pencils, but I don't know if you can tell, but this one has gotten plenty of love for me because I do think this one is really nice, so I definitely wanted to mention it here. Okay, the next item that I wanted to mention that is green and screams fall to me is something that I recently picked up, and this is from Fenty Beauty. This is the shade Midnight Wasabi. It's a lipstick, Mademoiselle lipstick, and let me see if I can give you a little swatch. So this here is the swatch of this one. I really have been surprised. I'm only wearing this twice at this point, which honestly, it's a statement lip. I'm not gonna wear it all the time, but I am so excited. I feel like I've been like kind of lusting after this like green lip, and I knew that I wanted it to be a bullet lipstick if I could find one, and I didn't really think they existed because I really don't see many of them. But when I saw this on sale on the Sephora website, I jumped, and I have no regrets so far. I've worn it, like I said, twice so far, and it's just beautiful. It makes your teeth look so white. It's so beautiful. And yeah, how many times can I describe this as beautiful? But I'm definitely excited to wear this a ton in the fall. Okay, before we move on to eyeshadows, I do want to say that if I forgot to mention in the introduction to this video, I am going to be showing you 4 looks that I created with at least 4 of these palettes, but I have a couple more palettes to mention besides the 4 that I'm going to showcase the looks from. So these are kind of like honorable mention palettes, but I kind of went through my collection and pulled out anything that featured green shades in them that I thought really spoke fall to me. So I wanted to showcase some of them, even though they won't have looks attached to them. So this one, first one, you will probably recognize as the Dose of Colors Friendcation palette, and this one has a beautiful green shade in it over here. I believe this one is called Dirty Money. This is a beautiful shade. I really enjoy it, and actually it was probably this green and that blue were the things in this palette that kind of made me want to buy it most of all. But I do have and the shade is beautiful. It has like a lot of dimension to it. It has some glitter in it, which I really like. The thing that that bothers me about this is that I guess it would be different skin tone to skin tone, but on my eyes, this can pull very bronze versus green. I want it to pull more green on me. I mean, it's beautiful in the pan. It looks so green. And so this one, I feel like at first it was a bit of a letdown because I really wanted it to pull more green like it does in the pan. But I realized what I needed to do was that if I just lay down a little bit of like a matte green base to this and then layer this on top, I get that green to really shine. So you can definitely get this to pull, if you're someone like me who struggles with it pulling more bronze on your skin tone, you can get this to pull a lot more green if you lay down like a green base. And I wasn't planning on mentioning which green base I use because I'm not really crazy about this palette, but the one that I happen to use is this green here, this bright green from this NYX palette. Not my favorite palette in general for like the quality. It's not really that great, but for what I need to do to make that one pull more green, it works. Okay, the next two eyeshadows I'm gonna mention kind of very similar, so I'm gonna go ahead and talk about them together. The first one that comes from this Too Faced Sparkling Pineapple palette, and this is what it looks like. Obviously, it looks so, again, so green in the pan. It got me so excited, and then when I went to use it, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Don't get me wrong, but it definitely has a very strong red base to it. Hopefully you can see that. Maybe I'll need to swatch somewhere else. Okay, I went ahead and swatched it right here. This is that Sparkling Pineapple shade. Definitely you can see now that it has a very strong red base, but does shift green. And then the one I swatched right beside it also has that red base and shifts green. This is Moonwalk from ColourPop. So if you're looking for something that maybe isn't as bright and in your face green, but still kind of speaks to that fall green tone, these are good options. But yeah, you gotta know what you're getting into. They definitely have a red base to them. Okay, next up is just a quick mention. I don't think that this is the most green leaning palette in the world, so I'm not including it as like one of the main looks. But if you have this in your collection, don't forget about this Lime Crone shade up here. It is beautiful and definitely shifts very green. Oh, so beautiful. I find that I love the palette, but I also kind of wish there was like an actual green in here, like an actual, something like what's on my eyes right now, but there's not, and that's okay, I'll live. But it does have this mustardy yellow, but not quite as green as I want for this palette, but still stunning palette. So you can pair this with another palette to get a more traditional like green look if you wanted it. Okay, so let's get into the 4 palettes and the 4 looks that I'm featuring for this video. The first one comes from my Jackie Aina palette, and I wanted to give one that's a little bit more wearable green. This one is not as intense as the other one. So I started out with ginger in the crease, and then I built up the outer edge with edges, and then I also kind of pulled that into the crease a little bit, so you'll notice that my crease looks pretty warm. And then I started to go on my lid with the shade Dwala's, but it was a little bit more gold than I wanted, so I ended up mixing Sponsored and Dwala's both on the lid. So this kind of green, it really pulls, again, very bronzy. For whatever reason, these kind of shades that aren't like intensely green, they tend to pull very bronze on my skin tone, but they still have a little hint of green. Hopefully it'll show on camera. But yeah, I ended up mixing these 2 shades here for that green look. And I personally like the look, but it is definitely more of a toned down green version, so that's why I'm kind of starting with this, and we're gonna build up. It gets more exciting as we go. The next look comes from this palette, the Nomad by Juvia's Place, and you may recognize this look as well. I ended up using both a little bit, well, I started in the crease with this color, but honestly, it's a little bit very like close to my skin tone. So I put a little bit of yellow just in the high transition area. Then I went deeper into my crease with this kind of like poopy green shade, which is honestly beautiful. I just love it. And then in the inner and outer corner, I went in with this deep green shade, and then on the lid we have, for like that halo pop, we have this beautiful stunning shimmer right in the middle of the palette. And if you're missing some unique green tones in your palette, like in your palette collection, I think this is such a good palette. Honestly, when I think of greens, I think of very olive tones, but this palette offers something very different. They're very, I don't know, they have a different undertone, and I don't actually know how to describe it very well, but they're beautiful. And this thing is just fall. It speaks sunflowers and beauty, like, to me, and it's fall. So I had to include a look with this palette. And for the third look, who would I be if I didn't mention this palette? This is the Subculture from Anastasia Beverly Hills. I love this palette for fall. So I definitely had to play with these greens here. What I ended up doing, I think Edge has just slightly more green undertone to it, where New Wave is kind of more of that macaroni yellow. So I ended up going with Edge in my transition shade, and then maybe a little bit of Dawn too, I think, to just tone it down, make sure it wasn't too yellow. And then I went in with Destiny and Untamed on my lids and kind of just fluffed them everywhere, honestly. Untamed is mostly focused on the outer edge of my eye. And then I told myself when I went into this that I was gonna do a halo eye with the shade Electric, but then I always get carried away with this shade because I love it so much. So it ended up kind of going all over my eyelid, which I'm not mad at. I really liked how the look turned out, but yeah, had to mention this one because it's so beautiful. These beautiful, beautiful green shades in this palette. And the fourth and final look is actually the one I'm wearing right now, and for that I used two palettes. I have my Profusion Emeralds palette. This I picked up recently from Walmart for about $5, and literally $5. It's such a steal. I love this. The quality is so nice. This is pretty much the reason why I bought the palette, if I'm honest with myself. It's these two shades up here, and this is actually what I have in my crease. Actually, let me zoom you in a little bit so you can get a little bit closer of a look. Okay, so here we go. I have this shade right here called Fern in my crease. I have Juniper kind of on the outer edges, and then yeah, I did in another video play with some of these shimmers, and they're not bad. They're a little thin compared to like high-end eyeshadows, but they're really not bad at all. But then I also just wanted to mention, I was gonna mention this palette anyway, so I just decided, you know what, I'll go ahead and use this lid shade in here that I'm gonna mention, and it's this shade right here called Wasabi. I know I pronounced that horribly wrong, but this shade is gorgeous, and that's what I have all over my lids. And I have to say, this was my first time pairing this palette with that olivey green goodness here, and I love the way this look came together. So yeah, I had to mention these two together. If you like what's on my eyelids, this is it. And yeah, I think that's it for today's video. Make sure you let me know what you think in the comments. If you enjoy these kind of videos, make sure you let me know. And if you don't mind, it would be helpful to give a thumbs up for this. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.